Are you someone who uses divination cards to get some insight? Or are you one of those people that really thinks it's a load of rubbish? Are you one of these people who just think it's coincidence? Well, it's both. Many of you who know me know that I'm a person who uses science in my coaching. But I also use these cards. Here's a bunch that I've got. Let me explain how they actually work. A friend of mine once said, "Oh, Alyssa, you're not using those. You know that they don't work. You really think that the fairies or the sirens or Pegasus is actually speaking to you?" He said, any one of those cards that you pick is so general in nature that it's going to be able to tell you something that that card that you drew was exactly the one that you needed to draw for you. He shook his head. The way the human brain works is that it makes connections with strings of information or with stories, and you will always find something that is right for you. Intuition is a very real thing, and every human being has intuition, regardless of how connected they are to it or not. It's there. Intuition is that unconscious connection. It's that unconscious instinct. And what you do with these cards is that you connect with your unconscious instinct, your unconscious intuition. You will find out what you have been trying to tell yourself because of the way you take the message, because of the connections you make. The card is just a conduit between you and your unconscious instinct, your unconscious intuition. And it's what your unconscious has been trying to tell you. And sometimes it can be really freaky. Once I had a friend who was staying me for a few weeks, and I was sitting down and I was using the cards. And he said to me, "I'm not going to even do those, they're a load of rubbish." And I said, "Well, why not? Why not even just have a play? Why not have some fun with it?" And he said, "All right, but I'm just letting you know, I don't believe in any of that." And I said, "Fine, that's all right." So he took the cards and he shuffled them. And he pulled a card out. He read the card and said, "Oh yeah, whatever," and put it back into the pack and went about his day. The next day, in trying to prove me wrong with the cards, he actually reshuffled them and he pulled another card, except it was the very same card as the day before. And he said, "Well, that's a strange coincidence. Maybe it's the way the cards are, maybe the way they separate. There's one that's bent a little bit and that makes that one come up more often." Except it never had come up for me, which is weird. The next day he did the same thing and he pulled the same card. Now he started to get a little bit curious and wonder, why did this pack of cards do this? Is that he spread all the cards over a table. So because he thought it was the way that they were being shuffled and the way maybe a card was bent, that it kept separating at that particular spot for him, he spread them all out over the table, every single one, and closed his eyes and randomly picked a card. You know what's going to happen, don't you? He picked the same card. And he did this 5 times in a row where he picked the same card. And he was looking at the card and he said, "Okay, I get it. I'm going to follow what this card says." An interesting thing happened is that this card was telling him about the importance of meditation and reflection. So he took up meditating. Now that journey took him to finding a yoga and meditation studio where he went to. The minute he walked into that yoga and meditation studio, he met the owner and had an enormous sensation in his body of connection with her, and she for him. Many, many years have passed and they are still together. He is now training meditation in that yoga studio. Now this was a person who was quite lost in their direction and now has his life purpose and his life partner. I know, it's freaky, right? Many other items other than cards could do the same thing, but for some people, it's the cards that work for them. The cards are that great conduit for them, the great conduit to their intuition. There's an infinite number of conduits that you could use to tap into your unconscious. Cards are just one of them. And you might like one set more than the other. Maybe it's the artwork. Maybe it's the size of it. Some are smaller than others, right? Maybe it's the feeling of the pack in your hands. Maybe it's the way that the descriptions are written. Maybe it uses a language that you can really connect with. I know I had a pack once, a beautiful pack, but I actually gave it away because I couldn't use it because there was too many errors and typos in the instruction booklet. It's funny because I'm dyslexic and make a lot of mistakes in my writing and spelling. But I think that it just added another layer of confusion for me if someone else was also making these mistakes. So I couldn't use it. It didn't resonate with me. So for me, I really like a language that is simple and easy to read and doesn't have too many errors, preferably none. Just makes it a little bit simpler for me, and that's the ones that I prefer. So this is my favorite set. I like the size of it because it fits in my hand. My hands are quite small, so I like the way it fits in my hands, and I like the way it's written, and there's no errors in the instruction booklet. So that's the ones that I like. But that doesn't mean that they're the ones that you might like. Some people like something different. So it doesn't matter if someone thinks it's the fairies or the sirens or the angels that have actually given them this message. What's important is that they take some action, some positive action. That's all that's important, because it's got to be better than inertia. And these small actions can make the world a better place, can better their own lives. That's all that's important. So if you like using cards, use them. If you don't like using them, don't. It's all about respect and just respecting people's choices. I've been incredibly fortunate to have coached thousands of sessions around mindset and wealth creation. And hopefully now you've got a new tool that you can use in your wealth creation journey. I'd like to know what you think. Please comment. I'd love to know how you go with this and what your thoughts are. And any freaky experience you've had with a reading that you've had, or any experience that has actually catapulted you off into a really amazing, positive direction. I'd love to hear about it.